talk about taxis. I'm sure you've had one or two conversations over the last little while. When they blocked the intersection of Queen and Bay last week, and a lot of them sat down, a lot of them were standing there, not letting traffic through, did we act fast enough to get them out of that intersection and to clear things up so that people weren't delayed on their way home? Because it was traffic chaos.
You know, it's like an extension of our previous discussion, because you have to we have the right in our country to, peaceful protest, and you have to sort of decide, all right, where does that begin and end? And, I've always been of the view that even a peaceful protest, even on a busy street, can take place for a period of time, because that's part of the protest. I think that they didn't leave soon enough. I'd put it that way, because I certainly said to them, and look, I'll say something I've said 100 times, and they don't sort of accept the fact that I say it and believe it. I am immensely sympathetic to the plight of taxi drivers. They are in an industry that is under profound pressure and in profound transition, like people in newspapers and like people in television broadcasting and so on. There's industries that are under pressure. However, I also said to them before the protest that protest, whether it's ringing cabs around City Hall or sitting on the street, was not going to speed up the pace at which we could put a new regulation together. And so I just thought that if they'd gone and sat there for 15 minutes, I would have said, fine, everybody got the point. And I sent the message out to them when I agreed to arrange the meeting with the police chief. We've got the message. When I asked them to leave the street in the afternoon, I said, we've got the message. We understand you're in trouble. We understand you need action. We are moving as fast as we can. I explained why our lawyers were not advising us to seek an injunction against Uber at this time. And that's the best I could do. But they still sat there. And only when we arranged the meeting with the police chief did they leave. They should have left sooner.
Does that not send a message then that if you sit long enough in an intersection in the city of Toronto, you're going to get your way?
No, because I don't control these things. Obviously, the police decide when they're going to go and move people out. But I think they're going to find, if they do that again, that it will be a much shorter period of time next time that they're allowed to stay there. They'll be allowed to stay for a few minutes to make their point, and then I think you'll find that they'll be asked to move along. But that's just me speculating, because I think, what point are they going to make a second time?
One of them had some pretty angry words for you. Have a listen to this individual.
Make sure John Tory will bleed. He will bleed with the amount of phone calls he will be getting from the general public about what the is going on. John Tory, we are here to stay. John Tory, we are here to stay.
What's your reaction when you hear that?
I feel sad about it, because I think that, I think that I just think that they don't understand the degree to which I am actually on their side in the context of saying we have to reduce the regulations on taxis and bring Uber under regulation, which is exactly what we're doing. But I also understand why they're angry, and they have to be angry at somebody. If they have to be angry at the mayor, then so be it. But I think they also hand out pieces of paper, I'm told in Beck taxis in particular, that make all kinds of accusations. And the drivers say over the seat that I own 35% of Uber and my son works there.
Which are both false.
Of course. But if it makes them feel better to say those things, then that's fine. But I'm working as hard as I can, so is the staff at the City Hall, to draft the new regulations. We are watching constantly as to whether there's a moment in time when we can apply for another injunction. We tried once and failed. People forget that. And if you fail a second time, it only empowers the person you're trying to stop. And we are going to regulate Uber. That's the whole purpose of this exercise. And they better, decide they're going to follow those regulations, or there is going to be big trouble. But it's taking a little bit of time. And the notion,
is it taking too much time?
Ryan, well, this is a complicated. If I just went through 5 of the issues with you, you'd understand that there's no black or white answer to it, and why it takes time to draft them up. But the other thing I'll say to you is this: when we've had the cab industry in and ask them, what can we do to help you with the regulations as we prepare new ones and to make it fairer for you and make it better for you to be able to compete? They answer by saying, ban Uber. And I will say to them, not because I'm on Uber's side, but because I'm actually on the public side of saying the public should have a choice, including the latest and most convenient technology and so on. I've got to get Uber regulated, but the public should still have that choice. So banning Uber is not practical. 300,000 people use it, and 15,000 people drive for it. And so then I'll say, okay, so if that's not practical, what would you suggest we should do to help you out? And they say, ban Uber. And I say, well, no, wait a minute. We already covered that point. And it's not because I'm on anybody's side.
Sure.
I'm only on the public side. They deserve safe, convenient choice in ground transportation, and they deserve to have the benefit of the latest technology, as people in other cities around the world do. And we've got to find a way to do that that's fair to taxis. But banning Uber is just not a viable option. Anybody who says it is blowing smoke.
Uber Hop obviously launched this week. They're putting their foot to the gas on this. They're going to launch all sorts of different disruptors into the marketplace, see what works, what sticks. It's a system where you can carpool with some of your neighbors, $5 a head. Everybody gets in and they go from point A to point B after they've met at a designated area. The TTC union came out this week saying they've got a problem with Uber Hop because it's not falling in line with public transportation and the rules on that side of things.
Well, the law that governs that is actually something called the Public Vehicles Act, which is a piece of provincial legislation. And I guess if the provincial people and other regulators want to go out and start laying charges on that, they are, I guess, free to do so. Again, it's a bit of a gray zone because it says you can't accept other than a nominal charge if you have someone in your car, because carpools will split gas money. And so this is a bit of a different concept. But again, we could deploy. Look, here we are having a discussion 15 minutes ago about police officers being needed to be looking after gang warfare and this kind of thing in our city. And we could, I guess the chief could redeploy a whole bunch of them to go and start laying charges against Uber Hop. Or do you think we're better off to finish up getting these new regulations drafted so that we don't say to our police officers who are hard pressed to do their job fighting real violence and real crime, that, you know, okay, do some of that. And they have laid some charges. As you've heard the chief say, as you've heard Tracy Cook say from the bylaw office, 200 charges under the bylaw office, I think a whole bunch under the Police Highway Traffic Act, and those are not even through court yet. So if you can't win those cases, then should we lay 500 more to lose those? That's what I'm saying to people. I try very hard, Ryan, to be really honest with people and to be straight with them about the practicalities of what's possible and what isn't. And that gets the cab drivers mad because I can't say, fine, I'll ban Uber. You know, I'll call you in the morning and tell you we've looked after that. 300,000 users and 15,000 drivers. I'm just being straight with people and saying we can't practically ban them. The law makes it difficult to try to do that anyway. There are better uses of the police time, and that we're working as fast as possible to bring new regulations to help clear this up.